In this video, I'm going to show you some terrible zoysia grass in my own lawn, and I'm going to make a few changes and see if I can't revive this grass within 1 month. Let's get started right now. All right, I've got a little bit of a challenging situation. This is zoysia grass, and I don't think it looks good. Well, I don't even think it's up for debate. It just doesn't look good. It's not my opinion. It just looks terrible. Now, if you come over here, you notice a pretty significant difference in this and this. What is the reason for that? Well, I think there might be a couple of things. One, I'm up against a shade challenge. So this is actually zoysia right here, which is supposedly one of the more shade tolerant varieties. And I've told people this before, this grass right here has looked absolutely nearly perfect the last 2 springs in the early summer. And then something happens where it starts looking like this. So I think the #1 culprit is these crepe myrtle trees are big, and to be honest with you, it's just not getting as much sunlight as it needs to. And I think this gets over here in a little bit of window where it's getting a little bit more sunlight. That's one theory. Another theory, or another factor, I don't even think it's a theory, I'm pretty sure that is part of the problem. Another factor is I think sometimes zoysia grass, when it's just doing great, I applied some herbicide to it, and I should have just probably just left it alone and maybe just at best spot treat a little bit of weeds that cause a little bit of a setback. I don't think that's a big factor, but I'm not ruling out that that might have been part of the issue. A third factor is we have a golf cart, and sometimes my kids drive the golf cart over this, and I think just compacting the soil is not great. A fourth thing is when we put this sod down, we did not do a very good job of prepping the soil. Just hard dirt put down. We did try to rough it up a little bit, but I think that is also a factor. So I think I almost put those in the right order. The #1 factor is the shade. This is one patch of zoysia. I'm gonna show you another patch of zoysia that I'm also trying to revive at the same time. A little bit different story behind it. So let's go take a look, and then we'll get started with the solution. There's a better look at those crepe myrtle trees. They're pretty big and mature. I would guess they've been there for probably 40 years. This zoysia is in a different situation. It also has some trees, okay? These are oak trees, they're not that big. I think this gets significantly more sunlight than the other zoysia. This was laid this year, where the other has been there for a little over 2 years. So this has only been down, maybe 5 months or so, I don't know. So what's the problem with this? You can still actually see some lines in here. The soil prep was even worse than that over there. And you can make fun of the sod job if you want to. We just kind of threw some out in here. But this was hard compacted soil that had, I think, literally no soil prep whatsoever. No loosening of the dirt, no topsoil brought in. Just throw it down on the hard dirt, which was not ideal. But I think the main problem with this has just been not enough water to get it established. So it's kind of just been a little bit on life support from the very minute that it was put down. Maybe it did okay initially, but struggling to get through this first hot summer. And you can see some is worse than others. Now there is a sprinkler laying over here upside down, and maybe just the presence of that sprinkler will help this grass to some degree, but I doubt it. You can see some areas, honestly, I think that are closer to the tree get a little bit more protection from the sunlight and are actually doing better. I have watered this grass some, but not a whole lot. So this is emerald zoysia, very similar to zoysia. I don't think I could tell the difference looking at them side by side, but it is 2 different varieties. So let's talk about a solution and how we can get this grass growing in the right direction. I'm filming this video in late August. I'm in the Birmingham, Alabama market. So we don't have a whole lot of time to grow grass, to be honest with you, but I would like to try to get it to recover somewhat before we go into the winter. Hopefully can encourage some deeper rooting for the grass that I showed you lastly, and the other grass, I just want to see if we can make it look a little bit halfway decent before winter time. Now, is it going to look as beautiful as it would have in June? No, I don't think so. Too late in the game, days are getting shorter, but I want to see what we can make happen in 1 month's time. So we're going to try to carry this out for about 1 month and see the results we get. What's the plan attack? Well, there's some good news. One, a lot of rain in the forecast. So I'm real excited about that because yes, I can come out here and run the sprinkler, but we are getting cooler temperatures down in the 80s versus the mid 90s, low to mid 90s, and significant amount of rain. The other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fertilize this grass today is the plan. I'm using an 18-19 blend that I get from a company called Harrell's. and it's 18% nitrogen, but it's also got some organic material in there that hopefully is gonna give this grass some nutrients that it needs to help it show some signs of life before it has to go into wintertime. Now, I don't want to put down a ton of nitrogen on this lawn because, again, you not really have that much time before the grass starts shifting into dormancy. The other thing I want to do on this particular zoysia is hopefully address the #1 issue, and I think that is sunlight. So I've got a pole saw. I don't want to cut these branches off way back, but I do want to try to trim up some of the limbs and hopefully get a little bit more sunlight into here. And then next year, obviously, one of the things I want to do is not come in here and blanket it with a herbicide unless I think there's a reason to do so. Now, that is not necessarily true while it's in dormancy. I'm gonna still plan to put out a pre-emergent early in the year to help a lot of the summer weeds. But if it's lush and green and got 2 weeds in it, I'm probably just gonna hand pull those, spot treat them, and not blanket it with a herbicide that may be setting it back. Again, I don't think that's the primary cause of it struggling, but I do think it could possibly be a little bit of a factor. And obviously, water. I'm not doing a very good job watering this grass through the summertime. Zoysia is not nearly as drought tolerant in my experience as Bermuda. The other thing, once it starts to turn brown, it takes significantly longer often to turn green again. Let's get started and see if we can make some results happen in 1 month. We've got fertilizer on the ground. That's a good thing. The other good thing, cloudy skies, rain in the forecast. Let's take a good look at this lawn. Looks terrible. Hopefully a month from now, it's gonna look significantly better. It's time to cut back some of these tree limbs. I honestly didn't know I had blood on my chin until I looked in the camera. I guess one of those fallen sticks got me. Minimal hazard. I don't think I'm going to win any awards as an arborist, but hopefully by doing this I am going to let some more sunlight get into the grass, which is my main goal. So I got to clean up this mess because leaving dead limbs laying around on your grass is not exactly a recipe for a quick turnaround. So let me get some of these limbs cleaned up and we'll start checking back on the progress of this grass. I guess I need a Band-Aid possibly too. Well, the previous footage on this video is shot on August the 17th. Today's video footage is from September the 16th. So we're about 30 days after cutting back some tree limbs, starting to put some water out on the lawn, and obviously the fertilizer as well. So let's see what kind of results we got in 30 days. All right, here's the first initial patch. You can see the sprinkler there. We've been doing a little bit of water and we've had cooler temperatures and a decent amount of rain over the past month, which has been a good thing. So let's see if we can see a difference in the quality of the turf. As you get down here, leaves are starting to fall. Get some of those out of the way. That actually looks like pretty decent zoysia. Now, I could have done a little bit more watering. I kind of let the rain do most of the watering. Some areas where it doesn't look quite as good here, and honestly that looks like a little bit of drought stress more than anything, more than the sunlight. some of the areas where it maybe got a little bit more water, I'm liking the color I'm seeing of the turf. As you look at these trees, I could probably cut down some of these lower limbs on this tree as well to get a little bit more sunlight. But I honestly don't think sunlight is a super issue for this. I think it really just got off to a rough start, not watering it enough. What I don't want to happen is for this grass to go into winter with pathetic roots and basically unhealthy, because that increases your risk for some winter damage. That was part of the reason for doing this, was to get the grass to a little better, healthier state entering into the cold winter months. One more look here. That's not bad. It could obviously be better, but I think we've seen significant improvement. Let's go check on the other patch of zoysia. This is emerald zoysia. The second patch is Zorro zoysia, but they look very similar. One other thing to mention, you know, if we would have done this on Bermuda lawn, we'd probably got a quicker response. Zoysia is not exactly the fastest one to see changes in, so I'm glad we got the results we did so far, but it would have been even more obvious on different grass types. All right, so you remember this situation. I was cutting back these trees. The flowers are gone from the crepe myrtles, but hopefully cutting them back has allowed a little more sunlight. Of course, the fertilizer, the rain. I don't think I actually watered this at all, but like I said, we did have a decent amount of rain. And if you see back here on the back side, I think it just gets a little more sunlight. It's noticeably thicker and healthier back here. And that's pretty good looking zoysia. And as you get over here, I mean, you can see that probably visually. This looks significantly better than this. While this isn't going to win any awards, I do think it's looking better than it did. I know you can see kind of some thin areas. Let's get a closer look and see what that is. It really just looks thin. I think it's going to take a while to fill in these areas. When you look over here, again, it's probably getting more sunlight and was not as stressed out. But this is really nice looking zoysia grass, in my opinion. So while that's certainly not going to win any awards, I think we have got it headed in the right direction. We've still got a few more weeks of maybe the grass being able to recover before it starts shutting things down for the winter. So hopefully even over the next week or two, we're going to get a little bit more improvement. Like I mentioned, the early summer last 2 years, this area has just looked unbelievably great. And then it kind of starts going downhill, which I believe probably has to do with these crepe myrtles putting leaves out and blocking some of the sunlight and possibly a herbicide application. So I'm going to try to do things a little bit different next year. Thanks for watching. I'm Jason Creel. If you hadn't done so, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to get in weed control and fertilization, mowing business, go to lawncarelife.com. There's a lot of resources there. We'll see you guys in the next video.